Hi, everyone, and welcome to Star Wars Week. May the 4th be with you. I'm so excited to have you here with us. We're going to be doing a live stream this whole week. I'm going to be reading some stories throughout the week, Monday through Thursday from 7 o'clock until 8 o'clock. And we're going to be starting with Star Wars, the prequel trilogy stories. So we're going to get started here, and we should have a lot of fun reading together this week. I'm super excited for it. So without further ado, we will get started. Of course, some of the characters that we're going to get to see this week in our stories, we have Anakin Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Qui-Gon Jinn, Padme, Darth Maul, Jar Jar Binks. Oh, the wise and brave Master Yoda, Mace Windu, powerful Jedi Master, the bounty hunter, Jango Fett, the evil Supreme Commander of the Droid Army, General Grievous, evil Count Dooku, and of course, Senator Palpatine. Here we go. A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away. Story 1, Short Negotiations. Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn and his Jedi apprentice Obi-Wan Kenobi flew their star cruiser toward the planet of Naboo. The notorious Trade Federation had created a web of space stations around the planet that prevented anyone from coming or going. This blockade also meant that the people of Naboo were not getting the supplies they desperately needed. The Jedi had been sent by the Supreme Chancellor of the galaxy, spanning Republic. It was up to Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan to convince the Trade Federation to remove the blockade once and for all. So there's a massive battle station right here that's keeping the good guys, the Republic, from getting onto planet Naboo. When they arrived at the blockade base, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan were greeted by a silver protocol droid. "We are greatly honored by your visit, ambassadors," said the droid.
Roger, roger.
However, despite the droid's kind words, it would soon become clear that the Trade Federation was not going to meet with them at all. "I have a bad feeling about this," Obi-Wan said.
It's a trap!
Qui-Gon was not concerned. "These Federation types are cowards. The negotiations will be short." Meanwhile, aboard the bridge of the blockade station, Viceroy Newt Gunray was already panicking. He's a funny, strange little creature. He's a funny little alien known as a Nemoidian. The Viceroy contacted Darth Sidious, an evil and powerful Sith Lord who was secretly in charge of the Trade Federation. Even as a hologram, Darth Sidious was a terrifying presence. "This scheme of yours has failed, Lord Sidious," the Viceroy's second-in-command said. "The blockade is finished. We dare not go against these Jedi." But Darth Sidious would not listen. "Kill them immediately," ordered the Sith Lord. The Viceroy acted quickly, ordering that the Jedi's Republic cruiser be destroyed. The visitors would have no way to escape from the blockade. Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan were still waiting for the Viceroy in a separate room on board the base. "I sense an unusual amount of fear for something as trivial as this trade dispute," said Qui-Gon, with the green lightsaber. Just then, the blast doors locked in place. The Jedi ignited their lightsabers in a flash. But suddenly, toxic gas began to fill in the air. Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan were trapped. After a few minutes, the Viceroy ordered his battle droids to capture the Jedi. "They must be unconscious by now," he said. When the doors opened, the battle droids cautiously entered the cloudy room, only to be met by Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. The Jedi were alive and well. "Blast them! Blast them!" ordered the lead droid. But the battle droids were no match for the two Jedi. Qui-Gon dismantled robotic soldiers left and right while Obi-Wan used the Force to push a group of them through the air and smash them onto the ground. With the battle droids defeated, Qui-Gon sensed the Viceroy through heavy blast door and plunged his lightsaber through the barrier. The Viceroy was shocked to see his soldiers defeated so easily. "Send in the droidekas," he commanded. As the even more deadly destroyer droids started firing, Obi-Wan began blocking the blast with his lightsaber. Qui-Gon realized they wouldn't have enough time to get through the door. "It's a standoff! Let's go!" Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan slipped away and managed to find the large hangar bays on the base. There, they saw thousands of battle droids being loaded onto massive carrier ships that were headed to the planet's surface.
Roger, Roger. Roger, Roger.
"It's an invasion army," Obi-Wan said. "This is an odd play for the Trade Federation," said Qui-Gon. The two Jedi hid on board the carrier ships. They needed to inform the Supreme Chancellor, but more important, they had to find a way to warn the people of Naboo. So that's going to be the end of our first story. So if you need a little break to stretch your legs, of course you can. At any time you need to, you can always pause the video and step back in when you're ready. Our second story is going to be escaping Naboo. So now that Obi-Wan Kenobi and Qui-Gon Jinn have made it to Naboo, they need to get away safely. Qui-Gon Jinn glanced up at the skies as he crashed through the forest of Naboo. He and his Jedi apprentice, Obi-Wan Kenobi, had narrowly escaped from the evil Trade Federation's clutches. Now the Jedi Knight was powerless as he watched battleships full of droid soldiers land on the innocent planet. Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan needed to warn the people of Naboo before the Trade Federation took over. The Jedi didn't get very far before they saw a tall alien about to be run over by a giant tank. "Wah! Oh no, not to me! Oh no!" Qui-Gon saved the stranger just in time, but when the Jedi tried to send the alien away, he refused. "No, Misa Stell. Misa called Jar Jar Binks. Misa, your humble servant," the alien replied. Jar Jar told the Jedi about a safe underwater city where his people, called the Gungans, lived. So this new character is Jar Jar Binks. And he's a amphibious alien, kind of like a frog that can go underwater and swim. Don't forget our Jedi heroes, Master Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Qui-Gon needed help. This hidden city sounded like a good start, but when Qui-Gon told Jar Jar to lead the way, Jar Jar was suddenly scared. He had been banished from Otagunga and could never return to his home city. Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan wouldn't take no for an answer, and soon the unlikely trio was swimming deep, deep, deep into a large, dark lake until they arrived at the mysterious underwater city. The Jedi were brought before the city's leader, Boss Nass. Qui-Gon hoped that the Gungan leader would aid them in warning the Naboo people, but Boss Nass believed his people were well hidden from the Trade Federation and their evil droid army. "We's no caring about the Naboo," Boss Nass told Qui-Gon. The Jedi had no choice but to continue on their mission without the Gungans' help. However, they were given transport through the planet's deep underwater core, as well as a guide, Jar Jar. So you can see there's Boss Nass, and he's a pretty big guy. He's a big Gungan. And these are the members of his council. So those are the people that give him advice and help. There's Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. And don't forget me, Jar Jar. Obi-Wan piloted the companions through the dark, deep, treacherous waters of the planet's underground core. He could barely see through the muck in front of him. Suddenly, there was a great, loud crunch. A monstrous, giant fish was trying to take a bite out of their submarine. "Go, big goober fish! Huge your teeth!" shouted Jar Jar. Obi-Wan wrestled the ship free, but the gooberfish bite had damaged the large vessel. It soon lost power. Luckily, Obi-Wan had been trained well by Qui-Gon, and the young Padawan quickly got the ship back up and running again. Only to reveal another big, monstrous fish. Jar Jar yelped in panic, "Wow!" But Obi-Wan confidently piloted the ship away from the big monster's jaws and into an outcropping. They were finally out of the way of danger. The Jedi soon reached the planet's surface. Oh no, they were too late. Not only had the Trade Federation's droids beaten them to the capital city, but they had captured the planet's leader, Queen Amidala. The Jedi needed to rescue her. Qui-Gon led Obi-Wan and Jar Jar into the city. They quietly snuck through the streets, avoiding droid patrols until they found the Queen, her security forces, and her handmaidens being led away by the evil Trade Federation droids. Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon leapt over a balcony with a whoosh, and with a few brief slashes of their lightsabers, took down the droids. "We should leave the streets," Qui-Gon also said, leading the group towards a hangar. And this is a beautiful Naboo town, or city rather. This is called Theed. And they've got these immaculate, large, gorgeous turquoise domes. Beautiful architecture. Uh-oh. Now that they had Queen Amidala, Qui-Gon realized that they had to get her off of Naboo. Queen Amidala didn't want to leave her people, but Qui-Gon convinced her that only under the protection of the Galactic Senate and the Supreme Chancellor on the home planet of Coruscant could she begin the battle to win back her planet. The space hangar was full of droid troops that stopped Qui-Gon and the others as soon as they reached the Queen's ship. "Get the Jedi. Roger, roger. Attack, attack. I'm ambassador for the Supreme Chancellor, and I'm taking these people to Coruscant, Qui-Gon said. That doesn't compute, the droid commander replied. You're under arrest. Resorting to more aggressive negotiations, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan used their lightsabers to silence the droid soldiers so the Queen and her entourage could board the ship. And there you can see the Queen and her group, her security detail. The Queen's ship rocketed away from the Harbor Bay, but Qui-Gon and his companions were not free yet. They needed to get past the Trade Federation's blockade of ships that were surrounding the planet. They were just one ship, and they didn't have a lot of weapons. They would have to make a run for it. Suddenly, the ship jolted. They'd been hit badly. The shield generator's out, shouted the captain. Qui-Gon was worried. Without the shields, they wouldn't last long against the blockade. They had to send out droids to fix the shield generator. The ship's company of droids, including a small blue and white one named R2, quickly began repairs. But the Trade Federation wasn't going to give up without a fight. It aimed its weapons at the droids. We're losing droids fast, Obi-Wan said. Soon, only the small R2 unit was left. Would he be able to fix the ship on his own? With a buzz, the shields came back to life. The droid had done it! With the shields back on, the ship safely made it past the blockade and back into hyperspace. So little R2 did it. Hey, all right, R2. Qui-Gon met with Queen Amidala as she commended the droid that had saved them. What's its number? She asked her security officer. His name is R2-D2, he replied. Thank you, R2-D2, the Queen said, smiling at the small little droid. The ship was still badly damaged. They would need to land on a nearby planet to make repairs. But Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan had rescued the Queen and escaped Naboo, and that was a good start. So that is the end of our second story. I hope that you really, really enjoyed it. I hope that you liked it. It looks like we've got 3 people watching right now, so I just want to say hi to everybody and thank you for watching. I really, really appreciate the support. Our next story that we're going to do is The Path of a Pod Racer. And if you did not, I guess I didn't mention it earlier, but if you did not know, we're going to actually be doing our Star Wars stories this week in chronological order from when they happened. So we're beginning with the prequel trilogy stories. So these are the ones that happened episodes 1, 2, and 3. So these were sort of the beginning of the Star Wars story. And I just thought it would be a good, fun idea to do them all in order. That way then we can kind of follow the whole story from the Republic into an evil empire. So we're going to find out how that happens. But it all begins with a young boy named Anakin Skywalker on his home planet of Tatooine. So let's take a look. I'm going to zoom you into the book. Here we go. The Path of a Pod Racer. Jedi Knight Qui-Gon Jinn was in trouble. He and his young Padawan, Obi-Wan Kenobi, may have rescued Queen Amidala, but they had failed to convince the Trade Federation to lift the blockade surrounding Naboo. The Jedi needed to take the Queen to Coruscant so she could urge the Senate to help her people. But the ship they were traveling in was badly damaged. Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, the Queen, and her attendants were forced to make an emergency landing on an outer rim planet called Tatooine. Settlements on the desert planet were very scarce, and Qui-Gon had little time to find supplies and fix their transport. Without the right parts, they'd never make it to Coruscant, their home planet. And the citizens of Naboo would continue to suffer. Before Qui-Gon set off to locate the supplies they needed, the Queen insisted one of her handmaidens, Padme, join him. Qui-Gon led Padme, Jar Jar Binks, and R2-D2 across the desert and into a cramped junk shop, where a funny-looking winged creature named Watto hovered behind the counter. He has wings that helps him fly. "Watch this store," Watto barked at a young slave boy named Anakin before turning to help Qui-Gon. The alien named Watto had what Qui-Gon, the Jedi Knight, needed, but he wouldn't accept the Jedi's Republic credits, which is their type of money. The group left the junk shop empty-handed. If they couldn't find another way to pay Watto, the Toydarian who was flying, they wouldn't make it to their home planet of Coruscant. Fierce winds suddenly whipped sand across the desert. A big storm was quickly approaching. The boy from the shop invited Qui-Gon, Jar Jar, Padme, and the little droid R2-D2 to take shelter with him, so the group followed Anakin home. Anakin introduced everyone to his mother named Shmi. The boy was happy to have new friends in his home, but he was particularly fond of the girl named Padme. "I built a protocol droid to help Mom. Come on, I'll show you 3PO. The unfinished droid blinked to life. "Why, hello, I am C-3PO, human-cyborg relations." C-3PO tottered over to the small blue and white droid, who beeped a loud greeting. "R2-D2, a pleasure to meet you." And this is when C-3PO first met R2-D2. Over dinner, Qui-Gon explained that they were traveling to Coruscant and needed supplies to repair their ship. Anakin knew what to do. "There's a big race tomorrow on Bunta Eve. You could enter my pod. The prize money would more than pay for the parts." Pod racers flew fast ships through narrow canyons. Anakin's mother was afraid for her son, but Shmi agreed that he should enter on Qui-Gon's behalf. "He was meant to help you," she said. Qui-Gon sensed the Force was strong with Anakin. He wanted to train the boy to become a Jedi. When the dust storm passed, Qui-Gon approached the flying alien named Watto with a wager. Watto agreed to let Anakin race, but refused to trade Anakin's pod racer for the family's freedom. After some discussion, the two decided that Anakin could earn his freedom by beating an alien named Sebulba. But Anakin's mother would remain a slave. That's really sad. Cheering spectators filled the stands on the day of the race. As the announcers introduced the racers, Sebulba secretly loosened a piece of Anakin's pod racer. "Use your instincts." Qui-Gon adjusted Anakin's helmet. "May the Force be with you." There was a wealthy gangster named Jabba the Hutt who sounded the gong. Bong. And the roar of the crowd echoed across the desert. Dust billowed in enormous clouds, and engines growled loudly as the racers burst from the starting line to careen around the first corner. But Anakin's pod racer stalled. He couldn't move. Anakin flipped switches and shuffled chords, re-engineering his pod racer until it surged forward. Anakin had to make up for lost time. Tusken Raiders lurked in the dunes, firing blasts that sent racers off course. But Anakin flew with exceptional skill, darting through rocky arches and around the wreckage of the unlucky pod racers behind him. Anakin started his final lap directly behind the evil alien Sebulba, but the piece of the boy's pod racer that the alien had tampered with earlier had suddenly flew off. And Anakin's pod racer started to stream black smoke. As Anakin struggled to balance his engines, Sebulba slammed into him. But the alien's dirty trick had backfired. The attack made Sebulba's engine explode. The alien crashed hard in the dry sand. Sebulba was out of the race. Anakin kept a tight grip on his pod racer and sped through the finish line to take first place. The crowd burst into cheers. Ah! Woohoo! Skywalker, Skywalker. Mom, I did it! I did it! Anakin cried as Qui-Gon lifted him up onto his shoulders. You have brought hope to those who have none, his mother smiled. I'm so very proud of you. Qui-Gon used the prize money to buy the supplies that they needed and gave Shmi the money he earned selling the pod racer. Then he told the Skywalkers about his wager that he made with Watto. Anakin's win had earned the boy his freedom and the chance to train as a Jedi. The mother, named Shmi, hugged her son. Now you can make your dreams come true. But what about Mom? Anakin asked Qui-Gon. Is she free too? Qui-Gon frowned. I tried to free your mother too, but Watto wouldn't let me. Anakin was excited to train as a Jedi, but he didn't want to leave his mother. He wondered if he would ever see her again. What does your heart tell you? She asked. I will come back and free you, Mom, Anakin said. I promise. Shmi cupped Anakin's face tenderly. We'll see each other again. Then she squeezed his shoulders and turned him toward Qui-Gon. With his mother's encouragement, Anakin took his first brave steps on his path to becoming a Jedi. And so that's how Anakin earned his freedom. He was actually a slave, and so he had to work for Watto. But when he won the pod race, he was able to win his freedom and train to become a Jedi to help protect the galaxy. A hoverbike raced toward Anakin and Qui-Gon as they neared their ship. A cloaked creature with black and red face flipped over the bike, activated a lightsaber, and launched himself at Qui-Gon. Anakin scrambled onto the starship as Qui-Gon began to duel the mysterious opponent. The hum of clashing weapons echoed across the desert as the evil creature's powerful strokes drove Qui-Gon backward. The Jedi's lightsaber shook as he blocked the intruder's blows. Qui-Gon couldn't hold him off much longer. Just as the creature jumped into the air to strike Qui-Gon down, the Jedi leapt onto the lowered ramp of the ship. The doors closed, and the starship flew away. Qui-Gon had escaped. But what was that dark, mysterious, evil creature? On board the ship, and puzzled by what just happened, Qui-Gon distracted himself by introducing Anakin to Obi-Wan. You're a Jedi too? Anakin asked when he shook Obi-Wan's hand. Pleased to meet you. Qui-Gon, the Jedi Master, knew that the Force had brought the three of them together. He had gone to Tatooine looking for supplies, but what he had found was far more valuable and may have even had the power to change the balance of the Force forever. So there's Qui-Gon Jinn, Jedi Master, and his Padawan, Obi-Wan Kenobi. And this is the new youngling, Anakin Skywalker, who's going to train to become a Jedi. Here's Anakin at the Jedi Temple on the planet Coruscant. He's surrounded by other Jedi Masters like Ki-Mundi and Master Yaddle. And if you look closely, she's actually the same species as Yoda, known as Yoda's species. All right, here's our next story. Remember, if you need to use the restroom or stand up and stretch, you may. We're about halfway through our Star Wars adventure today. Anakin Skywalker looked through the viewport of Queen Amidala's cruiser and saw an amazing sight, the planet of Coruscant. Over the centuries, Coruscant's many large cities had grown so big that they finally became one big, huge city that stretched all across the entire planet. The billions and billions of twinkling little lights below made Anakin feel very small. He had just left his home planet of Tatooine for the first time. Although he was happy to be with his new friends, especially the Queen's handmaiden named Padme, he was very nervous about his future. The Jedi Knight named Qui-Gon Jinn had taken Anakin to Coruscant to present the boy to the Jedi Council. Qui-Gon believed that Anakin was strong in the Force and destined to become a Jedi Knight himself. Perhaps Anakin could even help the Jedi track down the mysterious, dark stranger who had attacked them before they left the desert planet Tatooine. But first, Qui-Gon needed the Council's permission to train Anakin. The Council members, like Ki-Mundi, Yoda, Mace Windu, and Plo Koon, were very, very worried that Anakin was too old to begin training. But Qui-Gon pleaded with them. I request the boy be tested, he said. Master Yoda and Master Mace Windu exchanged looks at one another. Then Mace finally said, Bring him here before us, then. While Anakin was fighting for the chance to become a Jedi, Queen Amidala was fighting to save her people. Even though the evil Trade Federation was attacking her home planet of Naboo, the Galactic Senate refused to help her. The Senate didn't want to believe that something so terrible was happening. Amidala refused to be ignored. With the support of her friend, Senator Sheev Palpatine, the Queen suggested that the Senate elect a new leader, one who would not overlook the suffering of her home planet and other worlds as well. And so remember, she's a queen, so she's the queen of her planet. And this person, he's a senator, and we have senators here in America. But in Star Wars, the senators represent their planets instead of their states. Wow, what a beautiful view. When Anakin was brought before the council, the Jedi asked him many questions. But no question troubled Anakin as much as Master Yoda's. Afraid, are you? Yoda asked. Anakin thought of his mother, left behind on Tatooine. He thought of how afraid he was to lose her. If he didn't become a Jedi, her sacrifice would have been for nothing. All those thoughts swirled through Anakin's mind as Yoda spoke. Fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. Yoda paused and looked directly at Anakin. I sense much fear in you. Queen Amidala placed in Senator Palpatine's office. Oh, I'm sorry, she paced in Senator Palpatine's office. That means she walked back and forth. The Senate had taken her advice and voted to replace the current leader with none other than Senator Palpatine himself. With Senator Palpatine advocating for her cause in the Senate, the Queen decided to return to her home planet of Naboo and do what she could to help the situation on the ground. She was very concerned that war would break out, and war brings suffering and pain. After Anakin's test, the council met with Qui-Gon. The Force is strong with him, one Jedi started. He is to be trained then? Qui-Gon asked. No, Mace finished. Qui-Gon couldn't believe the Jedi would turn away such a promising student. He demanded an explanation. Clouded, the boy's future is, Yoda told Qui-Gon. Young Skywalker's fate will be decided later. With the Senate choosing a new leader and Amidala confronting the Trade Federation, much about the future was uncertain. Yoda instructed Qui-Gon to go with Queen Amidala back to Naboo. Anakin was worried that the Jedi had not accepted him, but Qui-Gon was determined to teach Anakin one way or another. Before they reached Naboo, he told Anakin, I'm not allowed to train you, so I want you to watch me and be mindful. Anakin resolved to learn everything he could from Qui-Gon and everyone else around him. If that was going to be his first and last mission, he wanted to make it count. When they landed on Naboo, Amidala, the queen, revealed her plan. She knew they had no chance of defeating the evil Trade Federation by themselves. But although the humans on Naboo had been imprisoned, the water-dwelling Gungans below the planet's surface were still free. Anakin watched as the queen made her plea before the Gungans' leader, Boss Nass. We wish to form an alliance, she began. She looked uncertain of herself, an expression Anakin wasn't used to seeing on the queen's face. Suddenly, Padme stepped forward and interrupted. I am Queen Amidala. So she was pretending to be a handmaiden, which was like a queen's helper, but Padme was the true queen. The queen explained that she had disguised herself as a handmaiden for protection. Anakin was shocked. He realized the brave girl he had befriended on Tatooine was actually the queen. Your Honor, our two great societies have always lived in peace, Queen Amidala said. The Trade Federation has destroyed all that we have worked so hard to build. The queen fell to her knees. I beg of you to help us. Boss Nass stroked his chin. Making Amidala wait for his answer. Finally, he burst into laughter. Misa like this. Maybe we shall be friends. He shouted. But the leaders of the Trade Federation knew what Padme was up to. The evil Sith master Darth Sidious and his evil apprentice Darth Maul. who was the mysterious foe who attacked the Jedi, had discovered the Queen's growing army. "She's more foolish than I thought," said Darth Sidious. "Wipe them out! All of them!" Anakin and Padme would soon be facing their greatest challenge yet. So, if you want to, you can take a closer look at the evil Sith Lords. Now, the Sith are very different than the Jedi. We know that the Jedi are kind and caring, and they help other people, and they help make the galaxy a better place. But the Sith are the complete opposite. There are many, many Jedi, but there are only ever two Sith. One master and one apprentice. One to teach and one to learn. One to hold power and one to crave it and want to take it. So this is Darth Sidious, an evil, spooky, old, dark Sith Lord. And he's taken on an apprentice named Maul. Darth Maul is that creature with the red body and the black tattoos. Roger, roger. Roger, roger. Our next story is called Droid Attack. So you can see that there's a massive, huge, giant, huge group of droids here, battle droids that are ready to be deployed into battle. And here are the Gungan warriors. So these are Jar Jar's people. And they've got these massive dewback-like creatures that have these shield generators on their backs. So they're actually using the energy force fields to create shields that'll protect them, hopefully. An army of Gungans waited nervously on the battlefield. Their homeworld, Naboo, was under attack. The evil Trade Federation had invaded the planet. Luckily, the inhabitants of Naboo had a plan. The Gungans would hold off the Trade Federation's droid army, while Naboo's starship pilots tried to blow up the large space station controlling the robots. Meanwhile, Naboo's Queen Amidala and her soldiers would storm the palace and capture the Trade Federation Viceroy. That's their leader. Only then would peace be restored. "Starting up the shield," announced the Gungan general. A powerful energy force field lowered around the army like a protective bubble. Roger, roger, doo-doo. Roger, roger, doo-doo. Roger, roger, doo-doo. Roger, roger, doo-doo. Prepare for maintenance. Prepare for destruction. Prepare to destroy all likes of which you have ever seen. The ground shook as the droid army marched forward. There were so many of them. The Gungans were really nervous. "Open fire," ordered one of the droids. The droids fired their laser guns, but the shield protected the Gungans. They were safe. For now. Meanwhile, Padme and her soldiers stormed Naboo's royal palace, where the Viceroy was hiding. Battle droids blocked their path. "We don't have time for this," Padme said to her guard, named Captain Panaka. They needed to get to the throne room and capture the Viceroy before the droid army became too much for the Gungans to hold off. Captain Panaka had an idea. He used his blaster to shoot out a nearby window. "Ascension guns!" he cried. "Good thinking!" exclaimed Padme. The soldiers could use their ascension guns to shoot grappling hooks to the next window ledge and rise up to the throne room. "Go!" yelled Captain Panaka. The group quickly did as he said. and up they went. They were almost there. Back on the battlefield, the droids unexpectedly ceased their fire. That couldn't be good. The Gungans shifted nervously in their shield wall. Statue! Statue! Jar Jar Binks ordered his troops. Suddenly, large doors on the droid tanks suddenly opened. Racks holding thousands, no, tens of thousands of additional droid troops all rolled out. Uh-oh, the Gungans gasped. Ouch time, General Keel said to Jar Jar. The massive droid army marched forward and passed straight through the energy shield. Their tanks powered through too. Oh no, this is not good for the Gungan army. Fire! Yelled General Keel. The Gungans used all their weapons to battle the droids, but there were just too many of them. Jar Jar's troops cried out and scattered left and right to avoid the blaster fire. Retreat! Retreat! Yelled Jar Jar. Oh, Risa got to retreat now. Let's go! But back in Naboo's starship hangar, a young boy, Anakin, hid in the cockpit of a starship. Jedi Master Qui-Gon had made Anakin promise to stay there so the boy would be safe during the big battle. But Anakin accidentally turned on the ship's autopilot. Before he knew what was happening, the ship flew up and into the sky. Whoa, boy, he said, and straight toward the battle between Naboo's starship pilots and the evil Trade Federation. Even though he was young, Anakin was brave. He wanted to help. With backup from his droid co-pilot R2-D2, Anakin whizzed his ship left. He zipped it right. He did a barrel roll right into a laser blast. Oh no! We're hit, R2! Cried Anakin. The boy's starship spiraled out of control and tumbled straight through the open doors of the space station's main hall. Anakin desperately tried to get his ship up and running. He hit every button he could think of. Beep, boop, beep, boop, beep, boop, beep. Without realizing it, Anakin shot down 2 torpedoes straight at the space station's main reactor. The main reactor exploded. Let's get out of here, Anakin yelled. So Anakin, in this yellow Naboo fighter, went into the Trade Federation's battle station, and he was able to explode the main reactor, which is going to cause the whole battle station to go. Anakin and R2-D2 escaped just in time. The space station blew up from the inside. Woohoo! Cheered the other starship pilots. Great job, Anakin! Yippee! He shouted. Below on the battlefield, the droid army stopped working. What's they doing? Asked Jar Jar. The control ship has been destroyed, said General Keel. Look! He pushed over a deactivated droid soldier. It tumbled to the ground harmlessly. Hooray! Cheered all the Gungans. Woohoo! We did it! Yeah, we're alive! Woohoo! Anakin had destroyed the space station, and Padme and her soldiers had successfully captured the Viceroy too. The droid army was defeated, and Naboo was free once again. Wow. So it looks like we've got about 10 more minutes left in our Star Wars adventure, and we've been reading a lot of stories from Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. So I think that we have to finish, and we have to find out what happens in this final battle. So I hope that you've been enjoying the music. This has been Star Wars music, and I'm going to actually put on a very, very famous Star Wars song. Let's see if I can find it here, if you give me one moment. Now, this song, this composition, is called Duel of the Fates. And it is the music that was playing during this battle. So I hope you enjoy. This is the final fight. Jedi Knight Qui-Gon Jinn and his apprentice, Obi-Wan Kenobi, had arrived on Naboo alongside Queen Amidala with one goal: to capture Viceroy Newt Gunray, whose battle droids had taken control of the planet. But as they headed toward the throne room, Qui-Gon saw Darth Maul, the mysterious Sith Lord he had battled on Tatooine, blocking their path. Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan stepped forward to face Maul. As the Jedi charged Darth Maul, the Sith Lord demonstrated incredible acrobatic skills, flipping through the air and wielding his double-bladed lightsaber to block Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan's every move. Maul was able to steer the Jedi into an adjoining room that contained a pit for the building's main power generator. Lightsabers flashing, battling, Darth Maul leapt onto a bridge high above, with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon following close behind. Qui-Gon chased Maul, navigating a series of energy barriers that would destroy anyone who got caught in them. Realizing that the barriers cycled on and off in a set pattern, Qui-Gon and Darth Maul painstakingly made their way forward to the generator's deadly melting pit, just a few barriers separating them from each other. Obi-Wan followed close behind, but still had several barriers between him and his mentor. When Qui-Gon finally reached Maul, the young Jedi watched helplessly as his mentor faced Darth Maul alone. Qui-Gon fought ferociously, ducking and parrying his enemy's attacks with dizzying speed, quickly battering back and forth. They battled. But as Obi-Wan made it to the edge of the final energy barrier between him and his ally, the battle took an ugly turn. Darth Maul caught Qui-Gon off guard and landed a deadly blow. Obi-Wan screamed as Qui-Gon collapsed to the floor. When the energy gate cycled open, Obi-Wan charged at Maul, screaming and yelling, resuming the battle with a newfound ferocity. Darth Maul attacked the young warrior relentlessly, using his mastery of the dark side of the Force to fling objects through the air, ultimately distracting Obi-Wan and sending him flying into the melting pit. As Obi-Wan struggled to maintain a grip on the wall of the pit, Darth Maul kicked the Jedi's lightsaber into the seemingly bottomless depths. It all seemed over for young Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan concentrated as Qui-Gon had taught him. Reaching out with the Force, even as Darth Maul drew closer. He breathed. As the Sith Lord prepared to end Obi-Wan's life, the apprentice Jedi Knight soared out, jumped from the pit, summoning Qui-Gon's lightsaber to his hand. Along the way, wielding the lightsaber with deadly precision, he struck Darth Maul, sending the villain into the pit and to his doom. So, Obi-Wan was able to jump up, and he was able to defeat the evil Darth Maul and send him down into the bottomless pit. Obi-Wan quickly rushed to Qui-Gon's side, reaching his mentor just in time to hear his final wish. Qui-Gon urged his young apprentice to train Anakin Skywalker, the young prodigy who Qui-Gon hoped would bring balance to the Force. Obi-Wan, urged Qui-Gon, promise me you'll train the boy. Yes, master, agreed Obi-Wan, choking back tears as Qui-Gon took his last breath. Hours later, a sad Obi-Wan reunited with Anakin Skywalker, the young boy from Tatooine, and they watched as Supreme Chancellor Palpatine's cruiser landed in the courtyard outside the main hangar. The Chancellor, accompanied by his guards, approached the pair. "We are indebted to you for your bravery, Obi-Wan Kenobi," said Palpatine. "And you, young Skywalker, we will watch your career with great interest." All right. I think that is... Oh, maybe not. Let's see. Not quite the end. We've got a little bit of an epilogue here. And if you did not know, an epilogue is a part of the story that happens after the main story. So we finished the main story, but now this is the epilogue that's going to take place afterwards. But it was Obi-Wan's career that was to be confirmed that day. "Confer on you the level of Jedi Knight, the Council does," said Jedi Master Yoda, "but your tail as your Padawan, learner, I do not. Grave danger, I fear." But Obi-Wan remembered his promise to his Jedi Master. "Qui-Gon believed in him, and I will train him, without the approval of the Council, if I must." Reluctantly, the wise old Yoda agreed. "Your apprentice, young Skywalker, will be." At sunset, the central plaza of Naboo's capital city was filled with people who had gathered to honor Qui-Gon at the Jedi Knight's funeral. Nearby, Yoda and Jedi Master Windu discussed their suspicions about the true nature of the threat facing the Jedi. "There is no doubt about it. Darth Maul was a Sith," said Mace. Yoda said, considering this. "Always two there are. A master and an apprentice." As the funeral came to an end, a worried Mace asked the question they would need to answer soon. But which was destroyed? The master or the apprentice? And that's the big question, because they destroyed Darth Maul. But we know that he was not the master. He was the apprentice, learner. As the Jedi Master wondered if the battle with the Sith was truly over, there was still reason to celebrate. Naboo was free. The crowds cheered the heroes who were assembled on the giant staircase. Queen Padme and Anakin smiled at each other, happy to be together once more. Whatever the future held, for at least the moment, the forces of good stood triumphant. The end. So that is where we're going to pause for today. That was awesome. So again, big thank you to the 2 or 3 people who joined us live. I know that was a long hour and that was a lot of Star Wars, but I loved it. It was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed sharing this with you on May the 4th. I hope that you had a wonderful Star Wars day today, and I'll see you same time tomorrow, May 5th at 7 p.m. Good night.